to Sports Kabri. With me are Adi and Rishi, and it's another Euros topic that we've got today. And well, I think England's performance is doing the rounds. Not a lot of people are happy with it, especially England fans. But to me, it was fun watching this England side struggle a little. Now the discussion is around Trent Alexander-Arnold and his position in the midfield. Again, this has been discussed quite heavily in the media as well as to whether he deserves not deserves, but should be playing in the midfield when he doesn't so for his club side. Coming to you first because I don't know where to go with this. He didn't look particularly great to me, especially his touches in midfield weren't great. The ball bounced off him a couple of times. I think once Mitrovic had a good chance that led from a Trent error. But of course, there's the other side of his game, which is spraying the ball well, plays amazing diagonals, which he did on a couple of occasions to Kieran Trippier, and they came off. So it's a very weird one, but for me, like it just didn't seem like a complete midfielder's performance. I have my reservations over it, but yeah, let's start discussing it. Trent Alexander in midfield for England. Do you think they should continue with that for the rest of the competition?
I mean, not in midfield at least. I don't. I feel, yeah, like you said, like, his touches are off. You can clear. It's not like he's able to slot in effectively as well. You can see that he is kind of out of position, and like the more than that, I can like there's no clear tactics as to what he's doing there. What is Southgate tasking him to do? Like, is he supposed to be a creator from the midfield? Is he supposed to pull the strings? Is he supposed to set the like a deep lying playmaker? What is he like? Is he supposed to set the tempo of the game, or is he supposed to be a wide crosser from the right side? Like where Walker can go up and down, and he can just stay in one position and just spray crosses into the box and switch sides. Like, he's trying to do a little bit of both. He's everywhere, and more than that, I feel you could see that he's not disciplined enough, in the sense that his touches are way off. He's not scanning enough, not like making the right choices of passes a natural midfielder would. For like, I feel if you really want to fit Trent, like, don't try to shoehorn him in the midfield. Like, let him stay wider and deeper, like what he does for Liverpool. Play him there. More than that, like, also one thing I don't understand is, if you're trying to play Trent in the midfield, like I saw he was trying to spray passes to the right. Like, is that merely to switch sides, or is he trying to find a runner? Because there are no runners in this team. Everyone are ball to the feet players. You have Foden, you have Saka, you have Kane, who also likes to drop deep. So where are the runners in the team? Like, you provide someone like a Rashford, you provide someone like a Sterling, they are going to make runs behind the line. So I feel that is also missing. Like, if Trent had that outlet, he could find him easily, but that is also not there. So what is Southgate trying to do? I'm not understanding the bigger picture. I feel that is a bigger concern for me.
Adi, are you happy with Trent's inclusion in the midfield? Do you think there's space for somebody else?
See, when it comes to Trent and him playing in the midfield, it's a bit of both, right? So first, let's look at Trent and the right back position. Do you think going into a major tournament, you yourself as a manager, when you have the likes of Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, who are already playing right back, would you play Trent right back, or would you end up playing Kyle Walker? Obviously, like,
I think there's no. Do you see a space for him in the team? I don't think he plays at all in this England team.
See, the thing is, that's where we have to look at the entire squad. So that's what I'm saying. If you look at the right back position, right, we look at players like Trippier and at least Walker. When we talk about Walker, we are sure that he's going to give us defensive stability, right?
Yeah.
Walker is a player who can go up and down. Even in the previous game, if you just take that for instance, he was a guy who could run up and come back down, and he has a pace. He's been playing for City for a long time. He has experience in that position. He's played in the biggest stages. Whenever he plays, I mean, he over the time he's played against the likes of Mbappe, Vinny, and he's performed well against them. So as a manager, you'd always want Kyle Walker in the right back position just for the defensive stability, and also his biggest strength of being able to stop a counter attack through the wide spaces, right? If you put Trent in that place, obviously as a manager you're not going to get the best out of Trent in terms of defensive stability. And whenever as a manager we go into a Euros or a World Cup, which is a tournament based tournament, tournament where you have only 3 games to play, as a manager you can't take the risk of playing Trent there, because simple fact is, as a defensive liability, he is more prone to get exposed in those areas. So already we take him out as a right back role, right? So again, next step, right? You look at England's midfield. Now, what Gareth Southgate is trying to do is Rice is going to be a guy who sits in the base of the midfield, try to shuffle it from left to right. Keep the tempo. He controls the tempo. Even against the previous game against Slovenia, he's the one who controlled the tempo, ensured the ball goes from left to right, and also gave a defensive stability in the base. But then we talk about Trent. What Southgate really wants is a line breaker, a player who can break those lines, break the passes in behind, right? If you take Trent out now, who would you want to give that responsibility to in the midfield, anyways? England don't have the profile in the midfield, anyways. If you get in Conor Gallagher in, who is his likely replacement, you're getting someone who's again going to sit in a pivot, just try to maybe press the ball ahead, try to win the ball in the midfield. So you're losing a lot of passing ability from just keeping Trent out. So you have to look at it both the sides. Like, maybe Trent is not the best player in the midfield because of his casualness on the ball at times. You could see whenever he received the ball and he was showing his back, he couldn't turn, he couldn't evade the press. He gave 2-3 misplaced passes in the midfield itself because it's already his muscle memory of just whipping it out. 2-3 times he tried to whip it out to Kieran Trippier. Someone from the right back won the ball. It was a misplaced pass, and they countered. So that's something I'm going to get always in terms of risk. But on top of that, you again have him pulling the strings. He gave a couple of good balls on top to Saka where he ran in behind, right? So you're always going to get two things from Trent. So we'll have to see on basis of what we want from Trent, right? That's what we'll have to look at,
Bro,
as Trent playing in the
yeah.
midfield.
No, I have a lot of time for Trent's passing abilities because he's a wonderful passer of the ball. We've seen this over time. He's been great for Liverpool. Can play those diagonals like Kadi said. He can play the ball in behind on the same line as well for Saka, like he did a couple of times in that game. But I think the biggest problem I have with Trent at this point is that, bro, like he can't receive the ball. He's not able to turn to be able to afford himself that space and time,
But my
which
point is
is a
that's the
big
thing.
problem.
But you put in Gallagher in the same position. Do you expect Gallagher to be a guy who's going to turn, make half turns easily, and do more on the ball? So that's what we have to talk about. Because we have to talk
Yeah,
about, is Trent better in the midfield in terms of doing something, creating more? Because again, defensively, yeah, you have him as a liability, but you have other players like Rice, Stones, Walker to at least cover him a bit, right? So it's more about, do you want to take the risk of playing him in the midfield, but try to get a better output in terms of maybe chances created.
my problem with Trent in midfield is only the fact that, of course, you're going to get all this good stuff from him on the like attacking side, but 1-2 mistakes easily and a better opposition will capitalize on your errors. If Mitrovic, which was basically Serbia's best chance in that first half, if that goes in, it's on Trent because it was his poor touch. His back was towards goal, and he's not in those positions enough for
Yeah,
Liverpool.
yeah, yeah. But
I
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, I still think players like Gallagher could be prone to those mistakes. That's my point. Do we think Gallagher is going to be surely good in position? We've seen over time, even though he's good off the ball, on the ball, we've seen Gallagher also making huge mistakes. So it's about profiles of what England want. Like, can we put
Yeah,
Gallagher in the
yeah.
same position? Like, maybe you're going to get a mistake from him, maybe not. But can he create more chances than what Trent can potentially do? That's what I think we also have to look at.
I think the only thing I would say in favor of somebody like a Gallagher would be that he's more naturally accustomed to playing in midfield, and he's been doing that for his entire career, basically, except for Chelsea last season when he played an advanced role. But usually he does play that one. I think it's just
But
more, again, like you said, muscle memory kicks in. He's more used to it. That environment of, he knows that there's somebody from behind who's going to come in hard and probably press him. But there's also the other option, Rishi, which is probably, would you consider Southgate dropping Bellingham a little deeper, playing another attacking midfielder, somebody like a Cole Palmer or an Eberechi Eze? Do you see that as a possibility, or would you say stick with Trent itself for now?
I mean, you can stick with Trent. I don't see a particular reason as to why, like, Trent needs to be, dropped entirely, but then they'll have to the whole, when you get the ball, of course, on paper it'll be a 4-3-3, but then when you get the ball, it'll automatically switch. Like Trippier will push a bit up. The same with Trent. They'll have to go a bit wide. They'll have to stretch the game. and Walker being almost like the third centre back, Stones having to play the sweeper role. So you'll have to do that, and then maybe Bellingham drops in deep, plays almost with the like at the base of the midfield with Rice, and then you have say, but then again the front three are all on towards your feet players. That's the whole point. I feel is England does not have an outlet per se who's willing to make
Mm.
runs. Like you're having a great passer in Trent. You're having someone who can willingly break the lines. I feel Wharton also does that for Palace. He always like his first attempt is to break the lines, is try to play forward. I feel Wharton also can do that to an extent. Of course, it's not the same profile. It's not, you can't give him the entire creative role, but I feel Wharton also can, get the ball moving forward. Like he can get the ball front. But then the thing is, then the whole responsibility of who creates that will also have to change. Like Foden will have to take a bit more responsibility. Then you'll have to get in someone who's going to run in behind the defense. Who's going to do that for this team? Who is the out and out runner in behind? Saka. I don't think Saka can do that. He's much better used as someone who's with the ball and his body opened up towards the goal. So like the entire roles, like one by one, you'll have to change. You'll have to, if you want to really try and play Trent for the sake of his outlet, I mean for the sake of his passing abilities, you'll have to fix roles for each and every one. And then I feel if you really do have Trent in that team, what do you have Foden for? That's another question that you can ask. Like I don't see what Foden brings to the table. Like what he's doing at City, he's playing in the half spaces with those tidy touches. I don't see any of that being utilized by the England squad. I don't see that him bringing that creative side also for the England squad. So it's not like just an isolated Trent problem. It's more of how Southgate can accommodate Trent and then set up the entire team for the maximum output. It's not just a simple, okay, you throw Trent out, you get Wharton in, and then the problems are fixed. It's not that simple. Like
Mm.
you are like it's not just a sure shot answer. You'll have to accommodate others, you'll have to fix roles for others. Like I feel that's where Southgate has a bigger headache.
Dude, like I think Saka can do both, which is receive ball at feet and also make runs in behind. But regardless, I think if he has only that one runner on that side, there is no runner on the opposite side.
Other side,
Now,
yeah.
Kieran Trippier do it a couple of times in the previous game, but yeah, I mean after Trippier even is in a good position on that left side, you're a little unsure of what you're going to get anyways from him.
Yeah.
So effectively, again, I get what you're saying. What is he actually bringing to the table?
See, but the thing is, if you want runners, that is where you play a counter-attacking team. When you talk about England, there are a lot of possession-based teams. So when you have possession-based team, you don't really need runners as per se, right? Because you look at the players already in their squad in terms of Rice, Foden, Bellingham, Trent, Saka, Kane. You don't expect them to play off the counter-attack. So if you're trying to use Trent, you can't. The thing with Liverpool, Trent is more, in terms of versatility, in terms of possession, is because they have a lot of counter-attacking plays and which is designed for them, right? But you look at England, you don't need them to sit and play with the counter-attacking style, because that's what they used to play before under Southgate when they had players like Rashford, Sterling, etc. Right now, it's more about being able to build up better, and that's what they lack. If you're talking
No,
about
that's the
what
question. No, like what is Trent bringing to the table then? If not for his like diagonals and balls in behind.
See, that's the thing. You're not only looking at diagonals. When you're looking at diagonals, you can switch the play even when you're having under pressure of the ball, right? That's how you evade pressure. Play it out to the wide, then you can take the ball forward. Or else you can also play diagonals when you're just holding the ball and there's a overload on the right hand side to switch the ball to the left hand side. Again, you don't
Yeah.
really need Trent to just him playing midfield just for diagonals to the
Exactly.
left hand side where you have players like Foden who end up receiving it majorly. If that's the only style of play, it's more about Southgate having the wrong style of play than Tar playing in the midfield. Because the problem is not about Tar playing in the midfield, it's about creating a system and chemistry for him playing in the midfield. Or if see, you have
Okay.
to build a team around 1, 2, 3 players, and you have to create a proper sustainable system for that. You look at the entire team of England, they have talented players, but they don't have a system or any design play where any one player is getting the best out of it. See, we talk about why do these players, for example, Bellingham, Kane, Foden, even Ta and Saka play good for their teams and clubs. It's because the system supports them to thrive out of their club system. For example, let me just talk about Saka because I watch him the most, right? With Arsenal, he has two players running with him. One is Ben White on the overlap, one is Odegaard playing
Odegaard.
under stance. So when you have two players, Saka already has time. He either can play to Ben White, can play to Odegaard, link up with two players, or he can play it inside or create space where he can cut in and shoot. The same
Yeah.
Saka, I saw England, the previous game, the first game in Euros. He was isolated alone. Kyle Walker never made a run to support him. There was no one in the inside. So that's the problem with me because Ta and Rice were both playing as a double pivot.
Mm.
Bellingham was playing, floating around again in very weird areas. I saw Foden also floating around in the inside area, but no one supported Saka. No one supported Kane. You could see Kane was isolated whenever he had the ball. Whenever Kane had the ball, he was literally only foul baiting, keeping the pressure, making fouls. That's it. He didn't have a shot. He didn't, apart from that one header, he didn't have any other shot or even passes. That he was very isolated. Same with Saka. Saka's only form of anything, in terms of danger was, chipping in the ball towards the back line and him making runs. So that's my issue.
Yep.
It's not about Ta, it's about getting the best out of these players. Now, for example, if Ta had a better system where, okay, these are your design plays, you play in this space, that's a problem. Like, it's more about Southgate not getting the best out of Ta. Because we can sit and say, what does Ta offer? But if the system provides difficulty for the players to, thrive, then we have to talk about how Southgate is not
Mm.
just putting in Ta, Foden, Bellingham in weird areas, not getting the best out of them. Because
Okay.
that's the major issue, in my opinion.
Okay. So both of you guys are happy with him in the lineup for now, at least going ahead for the time being in the tournament.
See, again, it's very much. See, if you're talking, let me talk from an England point of view. As an England fan, I would always rather back Ta playing somewhere in the team if we're talking about his quality. But as Southgate, what is Southgate as a manager look at Ta? Is Southgate looking at Trent as a creator, as a line breaker? Because he has a sure with the long passes, long range. It's very accurate. So what are you trying to do out of it? Like that's a more important question to ask because again you have other players like maybe Adam Wharton, Gallagher, even Cole Palmer can give us different profiles in terms of what England might need. But it's more about how Southgate wants to utilize each and every single player because see right now we can say Ta had a bad game in the midfield, but same thing we can also say Foden had a bad game on the left wing. Bellingham,
Yeah.
apart from the goal, he didn't do much. Like he didn't create chances. You didn't see him do much. Even with Bellingham, he was running around from left to right, up and down. That's how he played. It was never like something very specific role where he's playing in certain positions. The entire team was out of apart from Walker and your centre backs. Everyone were far away from each other and there's no connection. So for me, it's about Southgate. Can Southgate create a system where Ta can thrive? If he's not going to do that, you're not going to get great performances from Ta anyways, because he's again going to be confused in the midfield, not knowing what to do. So there's more about that from my side.
Okay. Okay. Is she happy with Trent for now?
Not the current role that he's doing, like being exactly in the midfield and look like almost like a headless chicken. But if Southgate can at least push him out wide, like something like what, as much as I hate him, what Henderson used to do for Liverpool, or like something like what a De
I
Bruyne
was
used to do,
exactly going to say that. I think
like
that's what he would thrive doing. Like I
yeah,
think
See,
what
exactly.
he
you
Or
would.
like
push
be
him,
like a
you
what
push
De
him
Bruyne
wide
used to
when
do,
you have
like or
three
still
players in the
does
wide
occasionally for
side.
City. Just be on the right, just do what you're good at. But for that, Bellingham has like either Bellingham or Foden, like whoever is playing higher has to play. And I feel Bellingham with his more physical profile can drop a little bit deep. Like at least going for the next immediate game instead of having like huge chops and changes. If you want to just make minor tweaks, I feel this is like a much more convenient thing. Just stick Trent out wide, give him like wide, and like he can just whip in crosses or just recycle the ball on the right side. What he's pretty much watched Henderson do all his Liverpool career, and then get Bellingham to the base of the almost to the base of the midfield. That's like I feel like the most convenient thing you can do without having to like chop and change the lineup at least. If you
Yeah.
are particular about playing Trent, that is.
But
Hmm.
then if you play him wide, right? You send him wide. Then you have Saka on the wide, you have Trent on the wide, you have Walker on the wide. You have three players already playing wide. You don't have anyone
Not
playing in
wide,
between the
wide.
lines.
As in, like,
Yeah,
I
not
think
wide,
what
but
the position
almost.
is like Saka, but like just
No, but still,
slightly inside Saka, so that he has enough time and
Almost
space
like
to
an
move
underlap,
crosses in.
but yeah, he just stays
Yeah,
outside like as an option for
yeah.
Saka, so
Basically,
that
what
Saka
Henderson
can
used to do.
like
yeah, but
either
if I'm
release it
playing him,
to Trent
that is the
or
position he already took. Like if you're talking about against for England in the first game, he played in between the lines itself. He was not playing, fully deep next to Rice, or he wasn't playing fully wide, and that's the position he played. Like you
Yeah.
can't push him wider than
No,
that. And
it's not. I don't think it was. It's about pushing him wider. I think they just didn't get into those areas that afforded him time and space to put those deliveries, anyways. So yeah, I think
I
it
mean, if
just
you're
didn't
doing
happen.
that,
It was just
that if you're
again.
doing that,
It's more
Bellingham in
England
the
than
box as
him.
a thrasher doesn't make as much sense because you're losing out a man in the midfield. So just ask Bellingham to drop deep almost next to Saka, like I'm not Saka, sorry, Rice, because
But
you'll
in
have two
possession,
cloggers
when we
anyways.
talk about in possession, you can't have everyone in the midfield, right? You need them to go behind. Because if
Hmm.
you already have players like Rice holding the midfield, you always have an overlapper in your left hand side with, terms of Trippier going overlap. So you can't have Foden wide and Trippier wide. So Foden anyways plays inside. That's the
Inside,
game he
yeah.
played for England. It was not like he was stretching out wide. Only issue is, can Ta play in the midfield where he's turning towards the goal side than putting his backside? That's the bigger question, because if you're keeping Ta and you're most of the time he's showing his back towards his own goal, I mean towards the opposition goal, then you're making him suffer in terms of again not being able to turn ahead, play forward. So it's just more about ensuring Ta plays it forward. I think that's more of the issue.
Yeah, I mean that is where we stand. I think on Trent for now, at least it is probably a more England thing than a Trent thing alone. But again just to reiterate what I think most of us have said is also that his touches weren't great, especially when he's picking
Mhm.
a ball in with his back turned towards goal. But of course, his passing range is incredible. We know what he can do. The majority consensus seems like it's fine if Trent does stay in this England midfield. So yeah, let us know what you think. If you think Trent should be a part of this England midfield going ahead in the Euros, drop your comments. Please like and share the videos. Subscribe to Sports Kabri. See you.